He'll just look right at me. He'll just ignore the camera.
Okay.
There are a lot of people saying you could be the next great quarterback. I can already see it now.
Gotham Geek Girl here, and it's time for another review. Let's talk about the upcoming sports horror thriller, Him from Monkey Paw Productions. Now, this was one of my most anticipated films this year. I got a little glimpse of CinemaCon, and I was really looking forward to this movie. Does it live up to its expectations, though? Yes and no. Let's get into it. A young athlete descends into a world of terror when he's invited to train with a legendary champion whose charisma curdles into something darker. What would you sacrifice to become the greatest of all time? That's the question that the film begs to answer. What does it take to be him, to be the GOAT, to be the legend, to be the greatest of all time?
I hear you've been invited to train with legend Isaiah White himself. Care to elaborate?
Him is directed by Justin Tipping, kicks from an acclaimed Blacklist screenplay by Zach Akers and Skip Bronkie, creators of the sci-fi crime series Limetown, and by Justin Tipping. The film also comes from Oscar winner Jordan Peele and Monkey Paw Productions. We know Monkey Paw, producers of the landmark horror films like Get Out, Us, Candyman, and Nope, comes a chilling journey into the inner sanctum of fame, idolatry, and the pursuits of excellence at any cost, featuring an electric, dramatic performance from Marlon Wayans, absolutely from Air and Respect. So Peele's name has mostly been thrown around in the marketing for this film, but let's remember that Justin Tipping is taking the front seat as director. Him stars former college wide receiver Tyriq Withers from Atlanta, also in the latest I Know What You Did Last Summer as Cade. He plays a rising star quarterback who has devoted his entire life and his identity to football. On the eve of professional football's annual scouting combine, Cam gets attacked by an unhinged fan and he suffers a potential career-ending brain trauma. The film hits theaters this Friday, September 19th. Make sure to go check it out. So first I want to say that I really enjoyed the movie. That's not to say that it didn't have its fair share of issues. I didn't love it. It had the potential to be great. And while it excels at some areas, it also falls flat in terms of its pacing and narratively getting its point across. But I really did enjoy this movie, and I definitely think it's worth a watch in theaters. So let's talk about the film overall, what worked and what didn't necessarily translate well. So Justin Tipping's much-watched sports horror, Him, I described it as tantalizingly inviting. It's chirpy, it's sinister, and the unsettlingly seductive mind-altering film is a brutal reflection of sacrifice, grit, integrity, and the painstaking limits of sports culture. The film blends authentic, fresh, and creative storytelling with alluring set pieces, dramatic performances, and a kick-ass soundtrack. No guts, no glory. That's the phrase that's thrown around a lot in this film, and it's the key theme. Giving up everything to become the greatest, what does that entail? What does that mean to you? So let's start at the beginning. We see a pretty solid performance from Tyriq Withers. He plays Cade, the hottest quarterback in the game right now. He's wanted by many teams, and it's great because Withers was an actual former college wide receiver. So he has everything that this role entails, the drive, the athleticism, and the belief that he has dedicated his life to football. Tyriq, known for the latest I Know What You Did Last Summer, he seems to be showing a pretty promising career, and his character, Cade, is a rising star quarterback who devoted his life and identity to football. On the eve of professional football's annual scouting combine, I mentioned that he gets attacked by an unhinged fan and he suffers a career-ending brain trauma. This is how the story rolls out and how he gets introduced to his idol, Isaiah White. So Cam is a young, impressionable athlete. He works hard and he'll do anything to achieve greatness, and he really has like a bright future ahead of him. When all seems lost, he receives the lifeline from his hero, Isaiah White, Marlon Wayans. He's a legendary 8-time champion quarterback, cultural megastar, and he offers to train Cam at Isaiah's isolated compound that he shares with his celebrity influencer wife, Elsie White, played by Julia Fox. As Cam's training accelerates, Isaiah's charisma begins to curdle into something darker, setting his protege down a disorienting rabbit hole that may cost him more than he ever bargained for. So Cameron gets invited to this creepy private boot camp at the legend Isaiah White's private home estate. It's secluded, there's no phones, no access to the outside world. He can't call his family. It's just like in the middle of the desert. It's just football, football, football. And we learned that Cam was essentially training his entire life for this moment. From his childhood, it was ingrained in him every aspect of his life. He was training for football with his father every single day. He would watch football, play football. As a kid, he studied Isaiah. He wanted to be the next GOAT. This is what he strived for. He wanted to be the next him. His father trained him daily. This also included making him watch Isaiah's injury over and over to understand the painstaking limits of sports culture. But this was weird because it was not like a warning. It was more so this is what it entails, making sacrifices to be the best. This is what a man is. So there's a lot of toxic masculinity in this movie. Marlon Wayans as Isaiah White, he's the true highlight of the film, man. Marlon sold this. I'm a lifelong fan of Marlon Wayans and his family, and I think he was the best part of the film. His performance was fantastic, and I really hope to see more serious roles from him in the future. And while him is not his first serious role, he absolutely nailed it. It's a clear, pivotal opportunity to showcase his dramatic range. Despite being known more for his comedic roles, he demonstrated his ability to take on darker, more dramatic material like Requiem for a Dream. But I absolutely loved him in this movie, and I think he has a lot to show. And he had a lot of moments to shine, from balancing comedy to much more serious, sinister moments, invoking fear and overzealous determination. He was truly unsettling, unruly, and unpredictable.
This is rewarding, so learn to enjoy it. Get your shit together!
The minor comedic moments also didn't take away from the film, but they added like an authenticity and like oddly charming, like big brotherly feel to Isaiah. He was a goat, and he constantly reminds you that he was indeed him. He perfectly encapsulated the big brother, like mentor figure, but also was like super unhinged and menacing, and had this like egotistical like athlete, like the incredible scene where he blows on a gun. Oh man, that scene was chilling, one of the best scenes in the movie. Other supporting characters like Elsie White, Julia Fox are more like background characters that kind of like accentuate the extravagant and luxurious famed lifestyle. She's merely like a stereotypical woman in sports. The film features a dynamic supporting cast, including alternative comedy legend like Tim Heidecker, first-time female director Us, and Australian comic Jim Jefferies. Also, MMA heavyweight fighter Maurice Green and hip hop phenom Squad Up 4000 and Grammy nominee Tierra Whack also on the soundtrack. All three in their feature film debuts. So I want to say every scene was unpredictable, unsettling, and uncomfortable. Football, family, and God are themes constantly brought up throughout the film. It questions what are the limits, how far someone would go to reach their full potential, and make everything they've worked their entire life for come to fruition. The fame, the glory, at first it's like toys. What makes you feel comfortable, safe, and worthy? The end game is the glory. It presents itself as alluring and irresistible. This could all be yours. The mansion, the woman, the clothes, the love and the attention, having everything in the palm of your hands. What are you willing to sacrifice for that? Your loved ones, your body, your mind, your soul. The film is broken up into days, and I kind of like that concept. It shows the different like concept of his training at the secluded encampment. So day one kind of presents itself as fun. Isaiah introduces camp to his life. So he's meeting his wife, his boys, the in-home gym, the luxuries and the perks of the life. He expresses the significance of working hard and having to prove yourself as the best. Especially being a Black quarterback, you have to work even harder to be great. Cam starts getting these weird like blood transfusions and like these ice baths and sauna treatments, and he's working on his body, preparing physically and mentally. So all seems normal at first. Day two is poise. This is when things start to get a little intense and weird, but not too crazy. But during a running training exercise in the desert, he completely passes out. Isaiah asks Cam the question, would you rather never get tired or never get injured? All of the glory and defeat falls on the quarterback. Each day is filled with different lessons and challenges. And things only get weirder and darker as the day goes on. Day three, which is leadership, Cam's head injury opens up a few times throughout the film, and Cam is seeing shit, but he doesn't fully understand what's happening yet. He's starting to get drawn into the luxuries and the temptations of the lifestyle. The doctor, played by comedian Jefferies, he also gave like a few indirect warnings and about never killing yourself for a job, and he doesn't see his family and seeing like an indescribable pain. But Cam still doesn't really get the message yet. Isaiah the Goat talks about his blessing and the thought of having to pass it along and having to give it up one day. How nothing else was as important as football. The feeling of a football that it gave you was consistent. It was always there. And you can see his reluctance to giving it all up. And you almost think that there might be a twist where he sacrifices Cam to stay in the game. I kind of thought that would have been interesting, but it didn't go that route. But the days continue with like day 4, resilience, day 5, vision. And it's more just eat, sleep, football, repeat, eat, sleep, football, repeat. And the ideology of surviving the death of who you used to be, forgetting who you used to be. This is you now. We learned that Cam at one point wanted to quit football during his childhood because he was tired of it, but he kept playing football eventually when his dad died, and part of his resilience was making his father proud and continuing. Now the next step was to sign. This was the part as viewers we were waiting for, the impending rituals. And day six, the sacrifice, the party scene, felt like it wrapped too abruptly. It was shot very trippy and creatively worked stylishly. It was seductive, it was mind-altering. The soundtrack throughout the film was fantastic and paired perfectly with every scene. The sets were imaginative, dim and demonic color grading that established a hellish landscape very, very well executed. Visually, the scenes were powerful and created tension and uneasy, intense feelings of an ominous presence. But some scenes are a bit too stylized, like Cam getting attacked by the unhinged fan in the beginning of the movie and suffering the brain trauma. It didn't really occur to viewers at first that that was a crazed fan. But like I said, like the stylization was great, but the issues lie more with the way the scenes were written. Some moments were clear what transpired, like the initial attack on Cam, weren't like the initial attack on Cam, the crazed fans attacking him in the sauna, and even more, especially heading towards the end of the film. Did these things actually occur as they played out? Isaiah's blood was revealed to be blood that was passed down from former players, and the practice of mentors passing blood down through rituals to create the next godlike player. It's revealed that every time Marlon mentioned watching tape, he wasn't watching pre-recorded game footage, but actually from his eyes. The ceiling and view was like a creepy godlike perspective. This was very well done. Like I said, the sets were amazing. It added to the whole like egotistical narrative. But what wasn't translated well was the climax and the overall underlying concept of the demons and selling your soul concept in the first place, which is what the film was essentially about. The story's a bit disjointed. The ending will absolutely throw viewers for a loop, and it may deter people from actually liking the film. It wasn't an ultimatum for me, but I could see how it's gonna upset some viewers. I won't get too into spoilers, but the ending was very abrupt and a very similar execution to James DeMonaco's The Home, starring Pete Davidson, which came out earlier this year, where he walls out at the end, and it just gets a little fantastical and a little nutty and more comedic. It felt really rushed and tonally off-putting. It didn't fit this film. Like I said, it came off too comedic, and it takes away from where the film seemed to be headed. I really wish that it explored the entity more instead and how the ritual actually transpired. What would have happened post-training and the idea of it seeping into his real life more. It was more of a focus on the training and more contained than the direction I think most people would have expected. I think we really wanted to see more of the sinister demonic part and how it affected his life. And like I said, if we would have seen more past the training. I think it also could have been a bit longer. It had an extremely short runtime of only an hour and 36 minutes. It's a bit confusing what Tipping was going for with the structure. The script was disjointed. There's no denying that. I think we were all hoping for more from the story, and we weren't really sure what direction what Tipping was going for. The overall themes are more surface level about the excruciating football journey. It absolutely addresses the pressures, like the intense scenes where as a football player repeatedly being hit in the face intentionally with the ridiculous, like the fast pass machine, and it's hitting him in the face like so close, like he's gonna die. It's nuts. And also like Cam repeatedly breaking his head stitches, another player almost getting killed with the helmet bumping and other sports related injuries. I think the takeaway is more so the conversation around football culture, the sacrifices, the injuries that are sustained, the lack of care for players' health over wins, the horrific tolls on athletes' bodies. Overall, I found the film highly entertaining. It's seductive, it's stylish, it's creative, fresh, and authentic, with alluring set pieces, dramatic performances, and like I said, a kick-ass soundtrack. I love the way it was shot. It was trippy, suspenseful, the concept and the brutal subject matter. It did a great job of displaying like the supernatural elements and a very stylized, sinister presence, and a look at obsession, sacrifice, and the painstaking limits of sports culture. It showed true grit, determination, and integrity. Essentially, it's aesthetically pleasing, but narratively disjointed. And like I said, we can't deny that. It's more of like a stylized discussion piece on sports culture. Have you had a chance to watch the Sports Zilla yet? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts on the film. Subscribe, like, and comment.